So Ron Rivera, who we know and love, is he the guy, Peter? Is he the guy to make this Washington defense one of the best in the league? That has to count here.
It is, and I think it's identity and it's persona, and there's no tougher coach in football defensively than Ron Rivera. You look at what they did in Carolina with Luke Kuechly, and then all those big boys up front with KK Short, and of course on the back end with Bradbury and Norman and all those names. They were never a mentally weak team. The Panthers were always a tough out, and now he brings that. And he brings a bunch of his assistants. Like, there are so many guys that worked with him in Carolina that are coming with him to Washington. Look, the Redskins have been a folly at times the past few years, and I can't stress that enough. Just from the top down, that franchise, it hasn't been representative of what that franchise was in the 80s and 90s. Rivera brings stability, he brings professionalism, and I will say it again, he brings toughness. He is a tough son of a gun. I think that is the perfect type of person to come and stabilize what the Redskins have been the past few years.
Yeah, as nice as he is to us, he brings that attitude, and he brings an identity. It's something that they need. Shout out to our research. Here's a nugget in our notes. Between 2011, 2019, week 13, when he got fired, the Panthers had 392 sacks. Why is that number significant? Because that led the NFL in between that time. So there is obviously some type of attitude, some type of definition he wants his defense to hold, which is let's be tough, let's get after the quarterbacks, and let's stuff the run. He wants to try to bring that same type of groove to Washington. Now, these young players are going to have to follow his lead. They're going to have to listen. They're going to have to commit. They're going to have to dive into everything that him and his coaching staff is teaching. But, yeah, he did the same thing in Carolina. He brought an attitude there, and he's going to do the same thing in Washington.
There's a common thread developing here, guys. We're all talking about the past of the Redskins, 5 years ago, 20 years ago, and there's a reason for that. The Redskins, as an organization, have not earned the right for us to be like, yeah, they're going to the Super Bowl. It's been tough sledding. So what's going to change? I've heard a lot of new coaches and new quarterbacks and draft picks, and it's the same deal over and over. But I do have one thought. I think this hire of Ron Rivera was interesting and innovative for them, not only because of Ron as a person and success. How about this? This is the first time they have hired a defensive coach going back over 2 decades. Look at the coaches they've had. Jay Gruden, Mike Shanahan, Jim Zorn, Joe Gibbs, Steve Spurrier, all offensive-minded, some of them sort of the mad scientist offensive variety. You got to go back to Marty Schottenheimer, since they had a guy who said, I'm a defensive coach, we're hitting people, we're doing the D-line. This is an organizational shift for the Redskins. They don't do it. I'm telling you, 2 decades since they said, you know what, let's try something totally different. That's the reason to get excited. That's the reason to not say, same old Redskins again. This could be totally different, and this is the Redskins team that can smack you in the mouth.